What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the potential Lucy plot hole in Death Stranding 2 and Death Stranding 1. This is something I've seen from the early people that have beaten the game to be a thing of confusion. You know, this is something that I think Hideo went back to the drawing board and said, okay, how can we expand upon this story that largely, and to be fair, is largely told through journals, right? You go through Death Stranding 1, the Hartman quests, I guess, give you those journals, and you're reading them all, and, you know, it paints this picture of what happens to that medical facility and Lucy and Sam, you know, how the public interest or public feeling turns on him and all of that stuff, right? And, you know, it's pretty essential to Death Stranding 1, and then obviously becomes more essential to Death Stranding 2. So is what they did in 2 messing with 1? Well, okay, well, what did they do in 2? Well, number 1, obviously you introduced Neil, okay? That's something that I think is just flat out thrown or injected, let's say, into the preconceived story that we already know. We knew who Lucy was originally, and we knew what she was doing with Sam, and we'll get into that stuff a little bit more as we realize what they injected more into it. But Neil is just flat out, all right, we're going to throw this extra guy in. When it comes to Lucy and Neil, though, I mean, they're definitely taking a jump to now it's like, you know, Sam didn't talk about her much, and now it's like, all right, in Death Stranding 2, it kind of opens, and the beginning portion of the game is Sam just like outright rejecting that he ever loved Lucy, that she was nothing to him, that he never had a kid, or he was never even going to have a kid. And you're saying to yourself, oh my God, wait a second. They said in Death Stranding 1 the complete opposite. So what happened? And as it turns out, you know, this was a cheating situation, right? Lucy cheated on Sam with Neil, and, you know, eventually she just realized that this is not going to work, and she loves Sam, and she can't keep doing this, you know, with the baby and all that stuff, and she breaks it off with Neil, but then she needs Neil to be able to escape. So, you know, you have that big act all in one, and it's like, I like Neil. Neil's a cool character, but at the same time, it's like, well, I don't really know if you needed to make Lucy out to be, I mean, technically, she's a far worse person now, right? She literally is just cheating on him on the side, you know, with Sam, and Sam knows that now, and he doesn't seemingly have the greatest opinion towards her even now, but it's like, yeah, that's not ideal. Now, is that necessarily a plot hole? No, you know, that's something I think when you're reading the journals, I mean, it's obviously flat out not in there, but that's something I think you can just insert and say, okay, well, it doesn't really mess up these, preconceived things that we've already established. Okay, well, what really starts to mess it up, though, is really Lucy's death, right? That's a really, really big one. So a couple things to make clear. In the journals, in Death Stranding 1, they never, like, Lucy has a journal where she talks about, like, doing drugs and taking syringes, and that she wants to do more and more and more, and she's going to let that be the thing that takes her out. I guess the only way you can make this work now is if all of that stuff was a lie, right? And she was purposely lying on the document. Now, the original journal, like not even journal number 1, but the one before that, talks about how basically everything happened, right? So Lucy was dead. The cause of death was a drug overdose, but that was not confirmed. Now, it's interesting they say that, right? It's interesting they say not confirmed, but then in her journal, she talks about doing it and wanting to do it. It talks about Sam and that he does make it. He makes it back, but as soon as he makes it back, the void out happens. Now, you're kind of led to believe that it's Lucy that maybe causes the void out, or somebody in that medical facility, but probably her, considering the whole idea is, well, she died, she offed herself, and, you know, obviously that could be the cause of this void out. When in reality, now we see what truly happened. So she gets shot. There's no guarantee, I guess, she dies there, but she kind of has to, does she not? Because, and I was thinking this through in my head, where it's like, all right, is it possible, you know, she gets shot, and then Neil, you know, makes the deal where it's like, hey, can you save her? Give me your word. He gets the word. Now, I think that's a lie in the first place. And the thing is, though, Neil dies, right? So he gets shot a couple times, dies. So I was thinking, all right, is it possible they could save Lucy, and then she could immediately overdose and you know, off herself right then and there to make it all work? And the quick answer to that is just no. You know, there's no possible way, because all that stuff has to happen so quickly, right? Like, we know how quickly a void out can occur, you know, when a corpse is not properly disposed of. So if Neil dies then and there, which we're led to believe, then there's no way they saved Lucy. Instead, they took the baby out of her, right? Bridget did that, and to preserve it and all that jazz that we We already know that fits in, okay? But so that has to happen all in one very quick succession. And then we see that Neil is the one, that causes the void out. So, when it comes to that situation, I don't know. Like, I guess you just have to assume the only way for that to work is, again, for a lot of what Lucy said to just be lies, that she was not doing anything to herself. And that also, I guess, raises another question where, you read the journals and we know about like her dreams and the beach and she knows how like everything connects, right? And then she tells Bridget, and then Bridget like understands, and they get into this back and forth. Is there a way of fitting in at the same time she wants to escape? Like, that's another, to me, those are the two main plot holes that you can then argue, like, how severe are they, right? Her death and the fact that it seemingly has been completely changed. And I mean, you can talk about the Sam thing, like maybe it never truly sounded like he made it to her, whereas now we know he literally got to like pick her up and he was walking out with her and then everything exploded. That's kind of 50-50. Like, I'm not going to get too mad. I'm not even going to talk about it more than what I just did. But to me, it's okay, how she died. And then the second thing is like, okay, clearly she wanted out, right? Like, she wanted herself out. But then it's like in this one, all of a sudden now in Death Stranding 2, now she wants to just escape, period. Without even Sam, right? She wants Neil just to take her to Mexico. So that one is also kind of tough. Again, I guess you just have to think of it as lies and the thing is though, like that's kind of her mental mindset, right? It's like, okay, I do want to get out. I do want to escape. And so I guess that feeling is the same. It's just the way that it happened now, or the way the action that she's taking has now been changed, right? Versus what she wanted to do in the first game. So honestly, I'm not a big fan. Like, I think this is a situation where, I respect Hideo Kojima going crazy. He does it all the time. I love it. I truly, I embrace the lore being insane. But the thing is, when the lore gets convoluted and you're messing with all these different themes and characters and time settings, right? You're jumping past, present, future. Like, I love it all. Like, I love the way storytellers can do that stuff. The issue is you really got to keep things in line, right? Like, you have your own wacky way of establishing things, and you've got to stick with that no matter how odd that might be to other people. And I think that's what the first game did, right? It's insane, but it follows its own rule set, and it does do it, I'd say, rather well. For this one, at least this specific example, I think it's him wanting to kind of, again, go back and add a little bit more detail to, again, these BB units, the first 10, and, Neil being the one to transport, and then making these characters. Also, I think trying to go a little too hard on Neil just being like a Cliff clone, right? Just literally doing it again. So I feel like he kind of got caught up in that stuff, and the biggest issue there is, right, like when you're trying to expand your own lore, especially when it's as weird as the lore here, like you got to keep things in order. You really got to know the events and exactly what you've already said and done. I mean, again, like you can add whatever you want. Adding Neil to it is already messy, right? But it can fit, like it can work. The issue is when you say outright in journal, I don't even care if they're journals, right? That's in the game, that's part of the lore. When you say that and then you completely change it, or at least seemingly completely change it, that's where I have a problem. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.